Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and it feels so damn good to be back. Today, we are starting our mini-series of reviewing all the Splatterhouse games. So let's get started.
Yeah, we are doing Splatterhouse, aren't we? You know when this would have been great to do? Maybe October. Maybe that would have been a great month for October.
Sorry, Jim, I was traversing all over Europe!
Anyway, Splatterhouse. Developed and published by Namco, this was released to the arcades in 1988. This game had a few ports, the TurboGrafx-16, which we will be talking about. It also came out on the FM Towns Marty, the PC, and eventually the Virtual Console. It was re-released as part of the 2010 collection. This was one of the first truly gruesome and really almost hardcore games out there, and it was immensely successful, leading to a decently running series. One way to start, let's go with the original.
So as always, let's get started with the graphics. Now, one thing you're going to hear repeatedly when we do these Splatterhouse reviews, this game may not be the first horror game, but as Jim mentioned, it really was one of the first really gory games, and it just reminds us of a more violent version of Castlevania. We're going to mostly be looking at the arcade and the TurboGrafx-16, as Jim already mentioned, and look at them side by side. TurboGrafx is no slouch, however, obviously it's missing some of the foreground and background objects, but it still looks pretty goddamn impressive to us. The arcade, it's just ridiculous though. When you have the port for the 2010 version of the game, it stays arcade perfect, so that's really the one we recommend the most. And it just so happens that this perfect port, that is the first time you could get your hands on that legally in the United States. Now, of course, if you use emulators, you've already played this, and chances are most of you have. But anyway, let's just zoom in on some of these things. Just the sheer gore, the entrails, the blood, the explosions. It's everything you would enjoy as a young kid, especially if you had a love of horror like I did. And let's face it, they're not trying to be coy. You're walking around and you're basically Jason Voorhees. I don't care what they want to call the terror mask, that's who you are. So as you see from our breakdown...
His name's Rick! Ah! God!
Felt good to do that again. Alright, so from our breakdown for the TurboGrafx-16, we both gave it a 7. And for the arcade, I gave it an 8, Jim gave it a 9. As far as beer requirement meter is concerned, I'm going to start you off heavy. I'm going to say 2 beers, just because if you're someone who has a weak stomach, you may need to be a little tipsy to accept all the gore.
The sound's pretty good overall. The music has really catchy tunes that are both gory and scary, but also surprisingly fun. It doesn't really take itself too seriously, which is pretty much the mantra of the entire series. It's really just refreshing. The arcade and the TurboGrafx actually are pretty close in the same amount of quality. The arcade obviously has a little bit more crisper and cleaner sounds, but the Turbo's no slouch either. The sound effects are a little on the weak side, I want to say, as sometimes it sounds like you're just straight missing sound effects when it comes to contacts or... I don't know, maybe I was just expecting some more gushing, gory kind of sounds. It's a great package overall, can't really complain too much. We gave it 7s all around. And beer? Why the hell not? 2 beers. For drinking. Ha.
Stop copying me!
No, damn it!
When talking about the control, let's right away address the fact that this is as straight a beat 'em up as they come. You walk forward, you jump, you can crouch, and you punch. And sometimes you pick up weapons, and you may be able to shoot or hack your way through your enemies. But it's a 2-button control, very simplistic. How could it not be perfect? Because it just feels a little sluggish to us. So maybe sluggish is not the correct word. It's probably because your guy just walks so goddamn slow. It's just very, very robotic and stiff. Like when you jump, there's no momentum to it. You just go up and down. It could have been a lot smoother. Jim actually preferred it on the TurboGrafx-16. I didn't think I saw any difference. So we both gave it a 7 for the arcade, I gave it a 7, and Jim gave it an 8 for the TurboGrafx. Once again, it's not terrible, you just have to play it and you'll realize it's really not perfect.
Yeah, if you're gonna wind up playing this on the Xbox version or the PS3, the 2010 version, I'd recommend one of the arcade sticks or even the fight pads out there. It's a lot more crisp, I want to say, as far as control goes.
And as far as the beer requirement meter is concerned, I'm adding 1 beer so Jim can shut the fuck up!
If there's one thing you can say about this game, it's probably style over substance. This is as bare bones a beat 'em up as you can get. Like Brian said, all you're doing is just moving from left to right, fighting your way through hordes after gruesome enemies and bosses. You can pick up weapons, there's a couple in the game. There's actually more in the arcade version, as oddly enough, the turbo version didn't have a cleaver except for the one boss fight. Besides that, there's obviously the censorship issues in the turbo version, where they took out all the religious imagery.
Bitches!
Yeah, you could say that.
I just did.
Damn it. The game is what you see is what you get, and it is a hard son of a bitch. You're going to need to play the games again and again to really get down what you have to do, the right strategies for each boss. It's a bit of a bear, one could say. It's a damn fun bear, and you're going to want to keep coming back. If you like beat-em-ups, this is a great game for you. We both gave it 7s, for the arcade and the TurboGrafx. Not the deepest game, but goddamn is it just fun. As far as beer goes, we're just going to add 1 beer. It doesn't try to be anything special, but what it tries to be, it does a damn good job of.
So the originality is going to be a tricky one to explain, because you will see our scores and they're higher than you may expect. However, like we mentioned, yes, it is not the first horror game, but the sheer amount of gore, the art design, the creature designs, this was all stuff we hadn't seen before, and we were actually pretty impressed. Gameplay? No, they didn't add any new mechanics that really wowed us. But if back in the day you were lucky enough to go to an arcade, or if you had a TurboGrafx-16 and you played this, it felt like an original experience. You sure as hell weren't getting anything this violent on the NES, and it was just something new and fresh to break up all the other platformers out there. So as a true horror fan, I can appreciate what this game brought forward. And as you see from the scores, Jim and I, we both gave it 7s. I'm not even going to add a beer. This game was very self-aware of what it was trying to do. It just wanted to make a gory, monster-filled game for you to go around and beat the shit out of things. And it succeeded very well.
Playability. I already kind of touched on this. There isn't that much. The only replayability just comes from how damn hard the game is. And when I say you need to memorize and learn this game, you need to memorize and learn it. You can't just run through it expecting to beat it. You'll lose all your continues on the second boss, it'll be game over, and you'll wonder what the hell just happened. And it's going to happen a lot. You're going to have to play it again and again to learn each level and each boss. But besides that, there's no unlockables, there's no different endings. I gave it 4s, Brian gave it 5s. It is what it is. As far as beer goes, I'll give it 3 beers for being so goddamn hard!
So overall, this is definitely, I wouldn't say a guilty pleasure, because most people agree this is a good game. However, Jim and I, we just really got a lot of fun out of this. I've gone back and played it multiple times, and I still suck at it, and I still can't even beat it, to be honest, but I have fun going through and trying and attempting.
I barely beat the turbo version.
Version is for pussies! But anyway, after Jim's goddamn interruption, at least with the 2010 version, you have unlimited continues, so really, if you're giving up, it's just because this game wore you the fuck out. But putting all that aside, like I said, I love the art style, the music, everything. It's just a really fun game, and for a platformer, if I'm not in the mood for a classic NES game, I will always go back to this, especially on Halloween night. So for the arcade, I gave it an 8, Jim gave it a 7, and for the TurboGrafx-16, we both gave it 7s. I like the arcade a little more, there's a little more gore, it's a little more crisp, and in general, it's just a better game. Jim, for whatever reason, he couldn't get past the fact that he likes TurboGrafx too much.
I like the control better.
He's just happy he has a TurboGrafx.
I am!
So when you see all of our scores summed up for the arcade, it rounds out to a 6.9, and for the TurboGrafx-16, it's a 6.7. It's pretty much right where we feel this game should be. Not perfect, but goddamn, you should give it a try. Alright guys, so what are we gonna pair with this game? Well, we actually wanted to go with something we tried recently. Saranac's Tramini Rogue Saison. It was surprisingly good since we're not huge Saison fans. A lot of alcohol, goes down smooth, and we feel that this kind of funky beer will mix really well with the gore of this game. So, add them together, give them a try, and let us know what you think. As always guys, thanks for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, or better yet, why not subscribe? Till next time guys, cheers.